Welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the #1 podcast and resource for Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful, sustainable businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. If you're currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you're invited to join us each and every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family and get ready to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 413. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today we're going to be talking to Mr. Donald Durham, the founder of Mission to Math, and we're going to discuss his amazing entrepreneurial journey as he picked up stakes from South Carolina and moved all the way to LA to build an educational company that went from 0 to 6 figures within 18 months. Now, before we get to today's episode, I just want to share a few things with the BEB family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's broadcast, and I'm going to share all my contact information on social media and my resource links, such as the link to my new book, A New Black Wall Street, Circulating the Black Dollar Worldwide by Building Successful E-Commerce Businesses. Also, 2 platforms I've created to help circulate dollars in the worldwide Black community, BeSmartByBlack.com and HireBlackFreelancers.com. Also, don't forget my new rebranded, rebooted BEB Academy. Go to BEBacademy.com and get all the resources, masterclasses, and tools that you need to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. So it doesn't matter if you're a first-time entrepreneur or an experienced entrepreneur, we have resources to help you elevate. Now, also, don't forget, guys, if you need notes, the show notes, please go to the website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. On the bottom of every page, there'll be join now or website newsletter sign up. Make sure you sign up for that because we have the show notes in each of the newsletters. Now, you could be riding in the car, jogging or whatever, and can't write down the links. So make sure you go to the website and sign up for the newsletter. Now, let's get ready for today's show. We are live with Mr. Donald Durham, the founder of Mission to Math. Brother Donald, how are you today, man?
I'm doing well, sir. How about yourself?
I'm great, bro. I am great. First and foremost, I want to thank you for sharing your time with the BEB family. And before we get into your entrepreneurial journey, can you tell us a little bit about yourself on a personal note, and then we'll jump into your journey?
Most definitely. I am from, what do they do in college? The South Carolina, right?
That's it.
I'm from Rock Hill, South Carolina originally, which is a little bit below Charlotte, North Carolina. I taught, actually, everything I did is I went to school in South Carolina. I went to college in Myrtle Beach at Coastal Carolina to be an education major. And I taught in Myrtle for about 2 years. And then that West Coast was just kind of calling my name, at least maybe the weather was, right? So I flew out, drove out actually with a couple of friends, just trying to figure something out, and landed a teaching job here and been teaching ever since. But teaching's kind of just been in my background. My mother's a teacher. My father's been coaches and was one of my football coaches, and always involved in the classrooms. My grandmother drove the buses and helped with the special needs classes. So it's kind of just always been there. And, I knew there was a passion for helping kids, and finding a way to make it lucrative is awesome.
That's what's up. All right. It's funny, man. You mentioned Coastal Carolina. Is that in Conway or Myrtle Beach?
It's in Conway, but we like saying, no one knows what it is.
I got
exactly.
One of my first cousins lives in Conway.
Wow.
We actually we're going to have our family reunion there this year, but we had to change the venue. But so
843.
Got a lot of family out there.
Yes, sir.
Out that way. All right. So I wanted to ask you, man, first and foremost, tell everybody what Mission to Math is what the concept is, and then we'll get into your journey.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so Mission to Math, I'll explain it in two ways. But Mission to Math is a unique education company that uses gamified curricula to excite students about learning, right? Crucial math concepts, right? Making sure that they're really learning these major things that they're getting in school, but getting excited about them. Our system removes like a negative stigma associated with math and focuses on academic improvement by helping students find the fun in math. And to kind of sum that up, we basically made a real life math game for students that helps them progress through math, and it doesn't even feel like they're doing it. And then they're also improving in school because they're so excited about it, and it's been beautiful.
Cool. What ages ranges do you work with
Uh,
Mission to Math?
so we do we advertise first through sixth,
Okay.
and but we will work with some kindergartners depending on our assessment. So but when we start any interaction with the client, we always do a free assessment just to kind of see where engage where their child is, to see if what they already know and how to place them on. We have what we call a level up system, which I can talk
Okay.
about a little bit. But it shows us where to place them so they can begin their journey. So we have some kindergartners actually that come in on like a second grade level, and I'm like, hey, you can do it, then let's do it, and they keep rocking and rolling with us.
That's what's up. Man, I wanted to ask you in terms of your decision, the first decision I want to ask you about is moving to California,
Right.
right? So were you currently working then, or were you just going out there vacation? How did that happen? I'm just curious about that.
It is interesting. I when I look back at some of the choices made, I'm just like, yeah, you're lucky, man. Or when they say luck is when opportunity or meets preparation. So I
Preparation.
guess I was
Yep.
just ready. But once again, teaching in South Carolina, it was beautiful. The school I was at, River Oaks, shout out 843 once again, amazing school. Um,
Hmm.
I just kind of actually my best friend and I we went on a trip. It was about 10 days, starting in LA, and then we end up getting or San Diego, excuse me, and then we end up getting all the way up to Oregon,
Oh wow.
and then flew over to Denver, and just kind of the first time I really just saw the other side of the country as an adult. And from there I was just like, I think I want to move out there and
Yeah.
out here. And I had a friend who also taught with me in Myrtle, and she lived back in San Diego, and she basically hooked me up with a kind of a teaching opportunity, or at least getting my foot in the door. So then,
Mm.
that's all I needed.
That's it, man. Yeah, it's funny because just making that transition, like, and I know it wasn't on the spur of the moment, but how old were you at the time when you did that, when you made
It
that
was a
transition?
spur of the moment. I
Okay.
saved I saved money for 4 months, and I was just like, all right, let's do it. Like, but I
Yeah.
was 20. I started teaching at 22. No, I started teaching
Mhm.
that, yeah, 22. So I was 24.
Okay,
2024. Yeah.
cool, cool. Yeah, you were young, man. Now let me ask you real quick. What was the decision that made you leave traditional teaching to open mission to math? Was it something that was organic? You knew you were going to start a business, or was there something that triggered you to actually go out and say, you know what, let's go for
Honestly, it was not organic. It once again one of those opportunity meets preparation type of situations. Um,
it? Mhm.
my last school that I was at here in Burbank, California, Theodore Roosevelt, amazing school as well. Staff is awesome. Actually, my original principal there is one of my mentors to this day. Um, I just knew it was. I just didn't want to be underneath anyone's thumb, and whether that be a principal or that be another corporate boss or that be whatever. It's just certain things weren't clicking right, and the way I like to interact in my classroom and the way I like to run my classroom, it's very exciting. Martin Luther King
Right.
Day, hey, we're writing picket signs on what do you like, free the whales or whatever, save the whales. What do you like, women's rights?
Mhm.
Cool. We were marching around the campus, and that's fine. There's nothing anyone had an issue with, but those types of ideas just aren't meant to be in the classroom. Those things are meant to spread with the world and to on a bigger scale, I think.
Right.
So that I left the classroom, still doing some subbing, actually,
Mhm.
and then actually started doing some tutoring as well with some families that I knew, and then got in touch with my now business partner, who just happened to have the space that we're in because a flood happened
Right. Right.
the previous year. So he moved and over and yada yada yada, and yeah, we just started building from there. Started as a camp, and now we're where we are.
Man, that's amazing. We're going to get into that journey. I wanted to ask you, Burbank, right? I know the racial makeup of Burbank is
Mm,
predominantly white.
mhm.
In terms of your students, and was there any, because you're teaching something that's serious, math? Was there any, you feel any pushback or anything from any of the parents or anything like that based on your color?
I think not not while I'm here. Let's say that, right? I
Okay,
think that's one thing that it's a barrier. Education, and that's something I've been very blessed with since working in education. That is something that I don't care if you know white, black, brown, pink, purple, polka dot. Like if you
exactly.
are teaching my child something, you're making my child better. Then you this is what I want regardless, right? And
Cool.
also we do robotics and coding. I kind of left that out as a
Okay,
we
cool.
also offer robotics and coding. So if we're also on the wave of just making sure that these kids are doing what's going to prepare them for the future. So um, I have seen where there's just maybe a little less. I think I've seen people gravitate or trust Mathnasium and Kumon, some of these more established corporations, a little bit more. But then
Right.
I see that guard completely come down once they step into the door, right? Where it's just
Got
like, because I had my black owned sticker proudly in the window, right? Like I wanted them to know
it.
what you're walking into, like like
That's
you
what's
see
up.
the afro on my guy back here,
I
all right?
see.
You see?
I
um,
see that.
right?
Yeah,
But I
that's what's up.
and it's not even that's not what it's about, but it's also I'm
Right.
very proud in who I am and what I've built and what I look like doing so because there's not many people who do have the opportunity. So I want to make sure that I am representing as well as I can.
That's what's up. Yeah, that's I did an episode to be or not to be a black owned business. I got
Hmm.
that's one of the most downloaded episodes I have. I've actually talked to who was it? I think it was Cornell or Princeton. They
Mm,
interviewed me about that. They were doing a paper on that and about being visible as an owner of a business if you're black. And so I was just
it's
curious
interesting.
if it affected you, yeah, in any way that you knew of. You know, I wanted to ask you, man. Tell me about the actual decision. How did you feel when your soon to be business partner said, "Yo, I got a spot. Let's do something." How did that feel, man? Because I want to tap into your inner thinking because there are a lot of BEB family members out here that are not entrepreneurs yet. They're, prospective entrepreneurs. And I want them to be able to understand what it feels like when you're about to make that move or when you've decided to, and what did it really feel like for you?
I can definitely explain that, but I do want to have a little bit of a preface or disclaimer that I've been told by a lot of my friends and family that I often act without thinking in the sense of like I just go out on blind faith, right? Like I just because I believe like the move across the country once again, I did not have a job. I just knew I was like, hey, I'm an amazing teacher. There's not many black elementary teachers. You'll figure it
Right.
out. The weekend I went to go find a job, I figured it out, right? So it's
That's what's up.
um but I do want to say that I think it also takes the mindset of being willing to unlearn because and being willing to learn a lot of new things because
Mhm.
I learned the business mindset is very different than the teacher mindset. In a certain way. And also I couldn't abandon that teacher mindset because that's what established the name of Mr. D, right? That's what the community and
Right.
everyone knows me as is Mr. D. So it's like that mindset is still also important. Um, so I think that once like what we originally started with was just a minor idea. It was just a very small thing.
Okay.
We're like, well, we were math and music before we rebranded. And he
Okay.
asked just essentially like, do you want to just tutor, right? Or do you want to actually, because he has a guitar company that works with all ages, and there's often
Okay.
children that just like are just there afterwards. So he's like, we can just set you up and have a consistent tutoring base, or we can start to build something. And then that's when I had to kind of make that decision on what is it that I actually want to do. Um,
Right.
Anyone can tutor, but do you actually want to build something that's everlasting? But it was very, very small baby steps and nothing that I felt extremely confident in immediately.
Okay.
But it was like, do I trust myself to just keep going until I find my path? And I did, and I do.
Cool. So I want the light bulb to go off for the BEB family. So you have utmost confidence in yourself and the faith that things will happen. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs or prospective entrepreneurs, there are a lot of people that don't have that. Everything has to be calculated. And it's
Hmm.
kind of funny because certain professions, like CPAs or accountants, even, math people, you guys are normally pretty, I need to,
Yeah.
know the exact steps. But it's funny because you're not like that. You're like, hey, something's going to work. I have utmost confidence in my skills. And it sounds like people have told you that you're an exceptional teacher, I presume, correct?
I mean,
I was checking out a
something,
couple.
something like that. Yeah.
I, I was checking out a couple of videos on the homepage. Make sure you guys check out Mission to Math, the number 2,
Thank you.
missiontomath.com. And I saw the video you were doing, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty funny.
I,
And I can see how kids can get, involved in that and really get excited about it. Yeah, man. I wanted to ask you. You had mentioned Mathnasium, Kumon, and
mhm.
other players in that space. How big is and I don't know what you call it, supplemental education industry? I don't know what it's called, but
Right,
how
right.
big is that space?
I mean, there's a lot of companies that are doing this on a global or uh, just a national scale.
U.S.
There's
Yeah,
at least you can get five. You can rattle off 5 to 10. That are doing that. But there are the big dogs. There are the people who have the monopolies that you go to every city, you're going to see those. Like I said, those mathnasiums and kumans. Um,
gotcha.
and I'm very knowledgeable of that. So a couple of ways that I am trying to go about adjusting to that, because once again, that's what parents hear, that's what people
Right.
that's what parents are going to trust.
Exactly.
So we're really big on, of course, word of mouth, making sure that we are really in the community. Two, we are always going to be charging less, like we will
Gotcha.
always will charge less, not in the sense of we're offering, because our service, I believe, is better. We like kids actually want to be here, they're excited to come here, but I also
Hmm.
don't want it to break the bank. For a parent, I don't care if we're in Burbank or if I am in Monk's Corner. If like,
Right.
it should be something that allows a child to grow, and that's where that teacher mindset, keeping that teacher mindset, is important. Versus, because I could charge double, I could charge what Mathnasium and Kumar are charging, but then we're not going to grow that base, because then we're being greedy, And we also pay our instructors more, as well as something
Gotcha.
that I'm very big on. But yeah, it's a big space.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of some other differences that you mentioned, obviously, curriculum is up there with everybody else. The pricing is lower, so one of your competitive advantages is the pricing. How about the actual curriculum? Is it a
Hmm.
curriculum that you designed, or is it something that's based on the state education system? Because it looks like you're making this real fun, man. I mean, I was cracking up in some of the videos, man, but
Hey, I got to
because
get
it
you
was
a portal account.
entertainment. Now, hey, look, I'm gonna tell you, man, I was always good in math, but this is some new math out here right now.
That's
You know,
that's what they keep saying. That's what we hear. All right. If you have
I'm
time, I
like,
can show you an example of a new math problem. But essentially, what I've done is a little bit as a combination. So
okay.
I've taught these standards for years, right? I've taught second grade through fifth grade. So
Mhm.
I know them very well, but also have tons and tons of books. So I've used those to kind of recreate like a growing scale, just like you would see, nationally. Now, there isn't a book that will have just our specific missions,
Right.
or I'm sorry, lessons, what we call them are missions. I'll get to that. But
Hmm.
what I've decided to do is basically take the ones that are most important, right? The ones that are really help the kids in the future, as well as those ones that they are struggling with in the classroom that I've seen kids struggle with.
Got
And then also the ones that the parents are like, why is there new math? So showing them the traditional ways to make sure that
right.
that happens as well. But then that's when it's like, okay, how can I make this fun? So our worksheets, if you do go to missiontomath.com, you can actually scroll down and you'll see there's a couple of videos. The second one is one of my what we call our mission videos, and it's what every child watches before they move on to their current mission or their lesson that they're on. And it's me starting off with a corny math joke, and then I'm teaching it, right? The same way I taught it in my classroom. I'm animated, I'm active, and then I teach the lesson. Once the child's done with that, then they go to what we call to their mission worksheet. And there's two sides: the mission launch, where they have to basically show that they understand what we did, right? So understand what I broke down in the video, as well as there's examples for them to rely on. Then, as the instructors float around, they check it, flip to the back, they actually do the completion there. right? But once again, it's all interactive. Once they finish those, they get a charm that they can later trade in for fidget toys, and they get patches to go in their backpacks that they get as they sign up that go along with those current levels.
Nah, that's what's up, man. That gamification is no joke. Even people use that for adults too.
Yeah,
So a lot of stuff that we
come on.
do is gamified.
All those
So
virtual reality games that are popping off, or workout things that are popping off now.
exactly. When I want the BEB family to clue in on something here too. I'm gonna ask you a question first.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to pull all of that together in the iteration that it's in right now?
What time
And
is
I
it
know you're
right
still
now?
working.
What time
Yeah.
is um the pandemic gave us a lot of time.
Okay.
But like I said, we were originally math and music. So
Right.
the only thing we did have a level thing. Like I was like, okay, you go to this level to this level. But when it comes to getting the backpacks and the patches and actually having the workbooks completed and knowing what the levels are going to be,
Right.
it was a grind too. Like we're just getting to about a year ago or about 6 months ago where we have a fully committed system to where everything that I'm saying that we have, and I'm ready to give it to you.
Gotcha.
And thankfully, we provided just such a great service before all of our parents and clients. You know, they rock and roll with us regardless. But yeah, it was a grind.
Yeah. So I want the BEB family to understand your current iteration of your product, service, or business isn't the final iteration. So you build upon it. And so that's why I wanted to ask you that question because you have a lot of components there, the gamification and things of that nature. And in terms of the length of time you guys have been in business, how long have you guys been in business?
I'm a little over 2 years, two and a half officially um, since the rebranding, about 3 years.
Okay. Nah, that's good stuff. Most people don't even make it that that long in business, man.
Right.
So kudos, man.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about um what impact do you hope to have with your business? And it could be for the kids, yourself, community, or whatever. What type of impact? People talk about impact investing, but you can be an impact entrepreneur too. And I wanted to see what type of impact do you hope to have with your business?
I want to impact my wallet. All right, I'll see it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Hey, hey, that's part of it.
I mean, that
That's
obviously
part.
we're not doing it for free. No, I mean,
That's it.
honestly, I really, really, the biggest plan of this is to get it back to the like inner city communities. The plan is to get it back to tied in. Actually, so I was in college, grateful enough to be a part of this group called Call Me Mister. Mister
Mhm.
stands for Mentors Instructing Students Towards Effective Role Models. And it was for minority males going into, for the most part, elementary education. I think they've
Got
expanded as well. And a big part of that was getting us to work with a lot of inner city schools, a lot of schools that didn't have the proper fundings, a lot of schools that just basically needed a lot of different resources. And that is always sat in my mind. Like I'm not sure if people are familiar with the corridors of shame. Have ever, you've been visited some of those schools or actually or seen the movie. If not, I advise that you check it out just to see what some of these schools, unfortunately, still are still dealing with a lot of them. But that is where my intentions are to get back to helping, right? To get, not only allow us to impact, one
Mhm.
of the most needed skills, math, in some of the most needed
Exactly.
areas, but is to also allow a lot of these teachers that are going into education, right? A lot of us that are going into education to have a different route other than just being in that school system to do it, right? You
Right.
can make it a fun, interactive thing. Bring in these kids for robotics and coding to change their life. So
Exactly.
that is the long term impact. It may not
Cool.
look like that because I'm in Burbank currently, but it's on its way. I promise that.
Hey, yeah. Why did you start in Burbank? That's another question I want
Hey,
to
you
ask
got
you.
to the opportunities there. That's where like that's
Okay.
in the sense of not that it's not other places, in the
Right.
sense of when I went job hunting,
Yeah.
the job I got was in Burbank, and then the connection that I made was also in Burbank.
Gotcha.
So, and I kind of
Proximity.
see it as a Robin Hood thing in the sense of it's allowing me to use the profits and the funds that a wealthier area has in order to help me establish something that will allow me to help those that don't have those same resources.
Nah, that's what's up. That's called good old parlay, huh?
There we go. Right there you
You know?
go.
uh, Now, I wanted to jump back real quick. So once you made the decision to start, and I know it was math and music at first, but what was the first step that you guys took? Was it curriculum? Was it marketing? Was it? And I'm just trying to ask you this because you're a relatively new business.
Hmm.
And so on the show, we have business owners that have been in business 20 years,
Right.
3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So I just want to tap in real quick. So what was the first step after deciding to go out on your own? What was that? I mean, what was that step? Was it location, curriculum, or what?
Well, thankfully, again, we had this open space that I am in. So the focus was mainly what are we going to offer the people, right? And let's get a sample of that. So
Okay.
since it was math and music, we're like, what can we just get a sample size of? So let's do a camp, right? And that's like I said, that's what
Got
it was the summertime, so we're like, let's just start off with that. Um,
you.
and it kind of got it going. So I guess it was a little bit of marketing as well, right? Put things out on my personal Facebook, built the math and
Okay.
music page, just enough to get the name out there. But it thankfully my name was held some weight in the short amount of time that I was here. So it started off with a pretty good kick.
Okay. So
Me leaving
you
that
started with
school
the
was not a
Mhm.
people were like, wait, what? So then thankfully I had a following that came with.
Cool. Well, and this is another teachable moment for the BEB family. You talked about starting out with the camp, right? And when you said that, now eventually you turn into a full blown tutoring.
Hmm.
Um, I had gotten a question from a BEB family member a couple months ago. She wanted to start a supermarket in a depressed neighborhood.
Mm.
She was like, I want to do it. I don't have the funds, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, the first thing that you might want to do is start out with a, fruit stand or vegetables, stuff like that, which you don't need a physical building.
Hmm.
Get a tent based on your, wherever you are, you got to go through all the licensing. And I said,
Right.
start out that way, build a following, fruits, vegetables, farmers market type of thing. Then you can eventually build into hopefully a full blown supermarket. And so when you said starting out with the camp, even though you had the facility already, that's a
Hmm.
great way to be able to segue into what you really wanted to do. And so I want the light bulb to go off to the BEB family is sometimes what our destination is, we can't start there. So we have to take smaller steps to grow to get to that point. And I think that was a great concept. Number one, you guys, you said we're in the summertime too. So
Hmm.
you took advantage of the seasonality and you started that camp. What was the first camp? It was math and music or
Math and music, and that's actually been that's we still follow that plan to this day. So this
oh,
last summer we did a gaming camp, right? That was our first time
okay.
doing that. It was a big hit. So then we started gaming club. Well, so actually go before that,
Mhm.
robotics was our first camp, or that
Got
after math and music. Like robotics was our first camp. Then that turned into something that was like, oh, we can keep this going. So then that's a
right.
club because the downfall of being an education company. Um, for a lot of facilities, and thankfully not us, is that there's um, a lot of clients, during their summer, they want to leave to go on vacation. They want to, do
Yep.
a lot of different things. So we are year round, but that obviously, when it comes to actual tutoring clients, you couldn't see that drop. So we make up for that obviously with offering our summer camps as well as our different clubs that we have that are year round. Um, so like to get back to it, robotics started off as a camp, and now that is a
Mhm.
very consistent club that we have. Last year was gamer camp, and that now is coding club, and that's pretty consistent. And then
Cool.
this year we're actually trying a arts add up camp, which is kind of bringing in some theater, right? Because I
Oh,
have a friend who does amazing things with children in the theater. He just directed Jungle Book actually in Pasadena.
oh wow.
Yeah, as a children's theater, and did phenomenal. So we're going to try to do an arts add up camp and see what that can spin itself into.
Man, that's great. So yeah, that's something about using your platform to be able to try different things and see what happens, what sticks, and test things out to see if it makes sense for you to move forward with it. Another teachable moment there. Um, Donald, in terms of financing your business, because that's usually one of the top 2 or 3 questions I get.
Hmm.
How do I finance my business? How did you guys go about financing your business?
So thankfully, or well, when we first started, it was very low cost. So Jason and I kind of worked out a deal in which that's my business partner, excuse me. Worked out a deal in which basically he did put up a front of what we would need for the math and music things, which are literally like musical instruments and things like that. And then that was reimbursed, and obviously our deal carried out, but. Um, and then since then, things have really kind of paid for themselves. Like we don't invest too much in marketing because we found a really good way to do word to word marketing, and that also our mouth referrals, which
Right.
also give our clients a little bit of an incentive, right? So and we try to keep our costs low. And from there, we just kind of spend our own money, right? Have our retained earnings. We have all those
Right.
different things.
How about your physical location?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys rent that out, or are you in the process of purchasing it?
We currently rent this place out. We are looking for a new location because we need to expand, which is
Okay.
crazy to think about. Because, like I said, I remember when we only the room that I'm currently in when we first
Mhm.
were math and music. This is the only room we needed. I was like, why do we have all this space?
Wow.
And now we really need to expand. So, but we are looking for the best possible deal. Obviously, leasing would be amazing, but if we rent, then that's fine.
Right. How about in terms of the number of students that you guys have come through each year through all of your programs? What, and I know you don't know the exact number, but what type of how many people do you impact or students that do you guys usually see throughout a year? You think?
Throughout the year, yeah, that's a tough one because I would definitely say northward of 200.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
north of 200, yeah, because we also offer group classes, right? So this is we have
Okay.
I've created the structure, which I'm not the first to do group classes, but we do them in an interactive way as well as one-on-ones. We do offer
Right.
one-on-ones, but the way we do them, the kids are starting with math games and things such as that first that I've created, that they get to
Mhm.
spin a math wheel for. They win this math game cards or whatever before we split off into doing their individual things. So that just allows us to have more students in a session, right? And then just have
Gotcha.
focus on hiring more instructors to work with them.
Okay. And it's funny, you must have been reading my notes because I was going to ask you about employees next. So,
Yeah.
so what are your normal hours of operation, and do you have full time or part time employees or a combination thereof?
So we do have a combination of, and we also have some contractors that are like subs. I actually
Okay.
have a couple of kids that are at Harvard that I picked up during the pandemic when everything was virtual. That they just do some tutoring with for my middle school and high schoolers as they kind of age out. Um,
Okay.
and then so yeah, so we do have part time, and we are currently 3:30 until about 7 is when we're
Okay.
typically open, with both hour-long and 30-minute sessions in between.
Okay. Cool.
Mhm.
Cool. Um, in terms of, you kind of mentioned it, in terms of your customers, how did you get your first customers? I know you're doing a lot of word of mouth and referral business now, but when you started out, how did you get your first customers in the door?
And it's still some of my ride or dies, man, which is crazy. Which is crazy. Um,
Mhm.
I the tutoring when I like I said I was doing so when I left the schools, a lot of people wanted to just bring me on as a one-on-one tutor. So
Right.
it was a really weird and tough transition of trying to go from okay, I need to switch over to my business. Like I need, but then
Right.
that means I'm going
Right.
to be getting less money.
Right.
So it's like trying to balance that out. And I was like, all right, well, this week is going to be you. All right, you'll switch over, and then this week will be you because I'm still subbing. So I was trying to balance that out as well. But
Right.
yeah, that's they switched over that way, and then like I said, the word of mouth kind of spun, and then as I was still subbing, I don't know if it was legal or not, but I was just like, hey, I'm gonna teach y'all some math and music strategies. Like let's just, got them all hyped about the class and home flyers. I was like, here you go. Like, and thankfully it was
Right.
the school that I was working at, so all the teachers were
Right.
cool with it. The principal wasn't gonna say too much. Um,
Gotcha.
and yeah, it was great. It got us going. It was the hustle,
There
man.
you go. That's crazy, man. That's good because a lot of times I think that's one of our biggest
Yeah,
fears as entrepreneurs. Man, when I jump out on my own, how am I going to get customers? And but that was good that you were able to parlay your teaching job and now you were substituting. I think you said at the
right.
time.
Now, if I can expand on that a little bit with our newest location, we do have another location that's going to open in Glendale, either
Okay.
this summer or this fall. This summer, and
Uh-huh.
they it That's going to be interesting though, right? Because I don't have those relationships necessarily, but we are planning on. Um, we've actually started to start looking at some marketing strategies, and I will do whatever. I will cartwheels on the sidewalk, hand you flyers. Let's do some
Sign
math, like
spinning.
whatever. Hey, what I did it in high school as a Quiznos sub. They had me
Right.
spinning signs. I'll do it for my own business now.
So you had mentioned your second location. What type of expansion strategy or what are your future plans for Mission to Math in terms of expansion?
um, so we have my plan is to get at least 5 California locations before I move outside the state.
Okay.
However, I've already began discussing with a lot of my past relationships, friend wise, career wise, people that I went to school with that I know are phenomenal educators. Because when it
Mhm.
comes to people that I want to expand this business, I want it. It either needs to be someone who is willing to who has a similar mindset that just wants to manage it, as in, hey, I'm putting in my money, want you to hire, right? You take care of everything, how we're going to manage it, and all that stuff. Or preferably, it would be someone who would be willing to be a little bit more on the floor and because I know how you know what my business is about. I know what your teaching strategy is. Those things we have share those similar principles. So I do have a lot of people in mind already that I know that are interested in doing this. But the first person, this person who's about to expand with us, they are not a teacher. I've not known them for a while. They actually were a client. So, but
Oh wow.
they are very involved. Their son, both of their sons are absolutely phenomenal. But the youngest one is in first grade. He started
Mhm.
with us in kindergarten. He's now working on fourth grade, fifth grade material. Right out of our
Wow.
12 levels, he's at the seventh one. So
Wow.
it is wild.
Yeah, true
But
believer.
exactly. So that when you see how the process works and you see the faith, then then that's something else I'm cool with as well, right? Because
Right.
as long as you really understand what we're about and go through, actually come in and see what we're doing.
It's like hamburger you at McDonald's, huh?
Come
So in
on
order to
now.
be a franchisee at McDonald's, you got to go through hamburger you. And I don't know how long it is now, but I know it was damn near a year before. You're running the business, you and all, so you understand all
Hmm.
the facets of how that business works. So what type of expansion system were you looking at? Dealerships, franchise, how is that going to work when you look to expand?
I think it's definitely will be more of the
Wow.
franchise way. I think it just allows us to keep, control of our name, but then still allows us to give a little bit of. I want to kind of give a little liberty to each person in the sense of understanding that community, right? Yeah, I don't want you
Right.
to go open one in Wyoming if you're from,
Right.
South Carolina or something like that. Like I want, so then I don't have a right to necessarily tell you about that community. Of course, I'll do my
Right.
due diligence. Of course, we'll understand, the demographics and all those different things before we do any type of business. But I want to make sure that that person is very familiar with what they have around them as well.
Right. So in terms of your franchisees, in the future, what type of revenues would you expect? Well, I'll just ask you in terms of revenues. Are you guys doing six figures, mid six figures, high six figures, seven figures, or what? I know you're a young company.
Yeah,
Just curious.
we've ever since we've been on the books, we've always done six figure. Well, we've always been on the books using but
No,
but
since you've been rocking, I got you.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
But six figures. Now we're working on our way to get to that mid six figures. But
got
yeah, and I think what that will take is obviously the expansion. That is the biggest thing with education companies in general is how scalable are you?
right.
And that's a way that, thankfully, being a young company, that's something we are thinking about a lot in the future. Like when it comes to the spaces that we're having, when it comes to the time slots that we're having, right? All those different things.
Right.
Like how can we maximize this space, get as many students as we can, still keep our quality, you know?
Cool. So is there a revenue goal or an income goal that you guys have set for your prospective franchisees yet, or you guys haven't got to that point yet?
We're still working on those because we
Working on
want to kind of like, now that we have a space, now that we're kind of checking that space out and whatnot, we want to see how much that we truly think that we can maximize that space in when it comes to robotics, the coding, summer camps,
right.
all that. Hmm.
So when we talked off air, I had talked about a curriculum I created for an entrepreneur curriculum
Right.
for young kids. So I wanted to ask you, what other things are you guys looking at? Because they seem to be doing a couple different things. The robotics, you mentioned the gaming camps,
Hmm.
things of that nature. Do you have any other things coming down the road that you don't mind discussing to broaden out your scope of services?
Sort of. When it comes to major attachments to Mission to Math, I think we are pretty set right now as in the core things that we're going to be attaching to it.
Gotcha.
At least until we make sure everything is established, so we make sure that everything is rocking and rolling.
Mhm.
Because I want us, once again, I'm not sure if you noticed, I said that we're an education company, not a tutoring
Right.
company, because
Right.
we help children in general. But I want to make sure that we can do that as well as we can. So making sure the curriculums are fully developed.
Right.
However, I do definitely see us becoming a hub for also um, great instructors, because that is something that we pride ourselves on in general, is having phenomenal instructors that really care about the children. And something that I've seen is that a lot of parents will ask me like, "Hey, my child may have aged out, or my child is working in this specific subject. Do you know anyone that I can help, or that can help with them, or come to our house?"
Right.
Yeah. So if I can also make this a space where to facilitate or be basically a broker of tutors,
Right. Right.
then we can do that.
Cool. Um, Now it's funny that you mentioned that. I'm looking at your logo behind you, Mission to Math. Do you think do you think that you might have to change your name soon, considering that you're doing robotics camps, gaming camps, and things of that nature? So, or would you think about creating a spinoff or something like that?
That's up in the air. I've heard a lot of people like, "What about Mission to Language Arts?" I'm like, that doesn't roll off. Doesn't roll off the tongue
Right.
as well. But I think everything we do want to keep kind of things underneath our umbrella and our brand too.
Gotcha.
Like math is involved in everything that we do, right? When it comes to how long you're supposed to brush your teeth, when it comes to how many numbers you have on a page, when it comes to obviously actual math in itself. So I think
Right.
there are
Okay.
ways, but it is more than just math. It is just a brand in general. The way you hear
Mhm.
Kellogg, right? You think cereal, you're not just thinking, they
Right.
specifically got this type of cereal, or whatever. That may be a horrible analogy, but or here we go. You think Apple, you don't just think computer, right?
Right.
Right. I
Exactly.
want it to be mission to math. You think, okay, that is a facility to help educate.
Do you guys have a tagline?
That is what I'm actually working on
Okay.
at this time. I'm very synergetic. So
Gotcha.
I'm going to be working with my instructors that I've had for a really long time to kind of come up with that to see what they think we're about.
Cool. All right, that's what's up, man. So I'm gonna check back with you
Yeah, hold
tomorrow
on.
and see if you
What would
got
you
it. No.
say? Yeah, hold on. Give me your advice for a tagline. What you got?
Launch, build, and grow.
I love
That's
it.
you
I'm in
know.
for mission to math. I know you.
Right. Oh.
All
I,
right, mission to
well,
math. Launch, build, and grow. I like
well,
that. I like.
no, that was for me.
I'm
But
messing. I'm messing.
but but something that made me ask that question. You said you're an education company. And so that's what made me think something about a tagline, which
Hmm.
even though your mission to math may not incorporate all the things that you do, your tagline, you know, may want to clarify, we educate you in on multiple areas or whatever, stuff like that. That's actually what made me ask you about the
I
tagline.
appreciate that.
So, yeah, yeah. So yeah, a lot of times that tagline is it's the real identifier because some names are corporate names like BMW, right?
Hmm.
If most people know what the tagline, the tagline. All right, don't worry about it. It's the ultimate driving machine.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
So, but if you didn't know what BMW, what's that? This is what it is. We're the
yeah.
ultimate driving machine. So those taglines can kind of dig into to
But to the
enhance what
niche,
your brand or your image is by telling people, you know, what you do. So
I'll surely get on that. Thank you.
yeah, definitely. Man, it sounds like you guys have had like major successes, man. Has there ever been a time where you guys faced adversity? And if so, what did it look like? How did you overcome it if you did or didn't? And what did you learn from it?
Um, I think it's all about how you look at failure, right? Because I think there's a lot of things that didn't go the way that we thought. Like there's a lot of camps that we did that were like, oh, okay, that's cool, but we're not going to continue it.
Got
Um, and then obviously the pandemic for everyone, because that's right when we were rocking and rolling. Like we had
it.
just
Really?
rebranded um,
Mm,
to Mission to Math, and then schools went out, and obviously
right.
people weren't coming, for tutoring or anything like that. And I was like, oh snap, okay, what can we do? Brainstorm with my business partner, and then we offered. I basically was teaching 120 something kids online Monday through
Wow.
Friday, math and language arts, first through sixth grade, during the different blocks. And then because we just couldn't bring in clients, obviously. So
Right.
then from there, it went to through the remainder of the year, and then we kind of did it again at the beginning of the next year. But then also that got people into our virtual camps, right? So
Got
no
it.
one ever had time to forget about Mission to Math, because
Cool.
even at our lowest points, it was like a lot of those classes I did for free. I was like, just come, just be here,
Right. Right.
and just to get, yeah. And then so that, I mean, that was definitely some of those low moments. Just trying to figure out, because at the time I stopped subbing, I stopped tutoring individually, so all my income was based off of this. So it's like, all right, y'all, like, hey, you
How
remember you
did you
supported, you
sustain
remember that
yourself?
support, yeah.
How did you sustain yourself?
Honestly, thankfully, saved.
Okay.
Just I really learned to leave to live beneath my means.
Cool.
That kind of comes with that lifestyle of just throwing your hands in the air and moving across the country, or
Right.
come throwing your hands in the air and say, I'm quitting this job to start this thing. So you kind of know, like, okay, there may be these tough times,
Right.
but that's that motivator for some, and thankfully it motivated me.
Cool. I wanted to ask you if you had the opportunity to go back in time. I'm talking about entrepreneurship, with your entrepreneurial journey. What would you change, if anything, and why?
Hmm. I would document everything from the get go,
Okay.
especially we're in this phase of getting everything basically duplicated or being ready to be duplicated at another facility. I
Right.
with training manuals, instructor handbooks, like everything, all
The
the
systems.
countless
Yeah.
countless systems. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything. Just it's good to have it documented as you go,
Mhm.
and then also just developing better organizational skills. I think there's just a lot that, like, we we say we don't have confidence. It's like, oh, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. And no, it's literally you just need to organize so you can see which path to take. And I think that
Right.
that's something that I never that I had to unlearn, because as a teacher, it's kind of laid out for you, right? I
Right.
go in, I do
Lesson plan.
this, I'm out. Exactly. And I was like, wait, I don't have to wake up till when I want to wake up. Like, oh, okay, like,
Right.
all right, that's a game changer. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, that's definitely, yeah.
So, I mentioned earlier in the interview, your videos were very entertaining. Is it going to take a special person or persons to be successful in doing what you do because the way you connect with the kids? And are you looking for that when you look to expand?
It's all about the people that we hire. So it's all about the people. And that's a pretty rigorous. Our training is rigorous, and then our interview questions are definitely rigorous, and
Okay.
they're very scenario based.
Cool.
Because we have a couple of things that we say here. We like the child doesn't care what you know until they know that you care, right? Like we want to make sure that it's a student first mentality, right? Like a lot of these things. That's why Mr. D is the person that he is, right? If I can be real, I was not the best social studies teacher, right? I
Right.
was I wasn't the most miraculous language arts teacher, right? I did great with math and science, but parents did not care because their kids were coming out as more respectful people. The kids were coming out like just, with skills that weren't just geared towards school. And I think
Right.
that is something that comes along with admission to math. I thankfully, now that we've been able to grow, and I, have picked up with being busy we are and whatnot, I'm not
Right.
on the floor nearly as much. I'm often may not even be in the facility when we're running, but I still get those emails that are like, such and such did amazing with this child, right? My child is super excited to come back. Oh, they leveled up today. Like, oh, look at this picture with their patch, in their backpack.
Mm.
So it's all about the culture that we're developing.
Now that makes sense because sometimes, when you're trying to scale, if it's something that's very specific, like I said, like a personality, it's tough to scale a
Hmm.
personality, right?
It is.
If you have to duplicate that in different physical businesses and stuff like that. So I just was curious about that. Do you guys have an exit strategy?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm very geared on. I've listened to one of your episodes recently about just generational wealth. And
Yeah.
really quickly, I just wanted to give you your flowers. I wanted to do this a lot earlier, but we jumped right into it,
Oh,
man. Like, you are and I'm sure you hear this often, but you are like a huge Kickstarter, and like the battery pack that I needed to get going, like to
I
keep
appreciate
going. And like I can't remember which specific episode it was, but it was basically it was how do you find what you want to do, right? You're like pinpoint your genius and
it.
what you actually enjoy doing, right? And I believe
Episode
that's the
199.
come on 199. And I've
Pinpoint
listened to I've
monetization.
should be
Yep.
it should be ingrained in my brain, honestly, with how many times I listen.
Yeah.
But that definitely helped a lot. So just to give you your
Appreciate
praises, man. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man. Like I said, you're living in your genius, bro. You doing what you're supposed to do, and I know
Oh,
you feel it. I know you feel it inside too. And so
I
I
do.
think once everybody, hopefully, they can get to that space, whatever that genius is, man. But I see it in your smile. I see it in your energy. When we talked about it out in L.A., I
Yes,
was like,
sir.
I told my wife, I was like, I got to get him on the show because what you're doing, man, is you're making an impact in the kids, and that's the future, and a
I'm
positive impact.
trying.
Yeah. So and it just looks like when you see somebody that loves and enjoys what they're doing, man, that's the greatest feeling out there, man. So like when I was out on stage in LA, that was home to me. When I
Yeah.
see you on your video, teaching the class, that looks like that's home. That's where you're supposed to be, man.
Hmm.
So
Well, thank
kudos to
you.
you also, bro, because you're doing something that we need. And I know when you expand, you'll be able to reach even more kids, man.
That's the
Which
goal.
which is yeah, which is amazing. Let
Thank
me
you.
ask you, man, if so, do you have any just online programs if somebody's not in the area,
Hmm.
or is it all, or do you have to be able to physically come in?
So we do have virtual tutoring
Mhm.
that we do offer, right? And it still allows them to go through our same process, right? Go through the level up system. We can obviously send backpacks. We can send our patches if we need to.
Okay.
Um, and thankfully, well, not thankfully, but through the pandemic, we had to develop that, right? We would talk to our
Right.
coders. We're like, hey, we need this like ASAP. We need these videos be up to be able to continue. So yeah, we 100% still conduct that way to where they can have the same experience that they
Mhm.
have here.
Okay, cool. So now do you look to take that virtual thing bigger and make that greater as you expand too? So if you're not in a physical state and you got somebody in on the East Coast that like, man, I heard about this or whatever, do you plan to expand that platform also?
For sure. I mean, we've worked with people in Alaska. We work with people
Oh,
in
cool.
all kinds of places, and it's essentially like kind of goes back to what I said earlier about trying to get that be a hub of getting great instructors as well. Because
Right,
like, okay, you need someone, cool. I have someone in that same time zone as you, and we're good to
right.
go, right? So that we can set that up. So it's not even. Well, I want to expand that more for sure, but it's not even. It's an option now as well.
Gotcha. So when you refer somebody right now, you had mentioned, being that connector. So are you
Hmm.
going to develop a platform of certified mission to math instructors that
Like you reading my notes. You, hey, reading my notes. But yes,
great
sir.
minds think alike, bro?
There we go. I love it. Yes, sir. They
Yeah.
do. That is the plan, though, for sure. And it's all
Cool.
about making sure that training is that. Now that is you're talking about being scalable with keeping that
Oh yeah.
consistency. But if I never see you in person, right? Like
Right.
if you are someone who is across country and everything is done virtually, how
Right.
do I know that? I mean, obviously we can record sessions. I can get parent feedback, but
Right.
and everybody says they do great interviews,
Right. They
So
do their best work in the interviews.
right, they
Yep.
do.
That's what we used to say.
Right, it's the
Yeah, you
peak.
do your best work in the interviews. After that,
Right,
it's all downhill. But
right. I gave them all.
right. Man. So I'm not gonna hold you too much longer, man. What would be the number one piece of advice that you give to entrepreneurs based on your experience?
Mm. Um, can I give two?
Yeah, most definitely.
The first is just keep going. Like I feel like that's pretty cliche, but it is the most important. Keep going. And then the two would be willing to unlearn and learn. Right? Be willing to unlearn and learn, like, and admit you're wrong. Sorry, three.
Okay, now that's all right. Hey,
And
so
all those
you
I think go hand in hand.
right,
I love being wrong. Point it out. Show me I'm wrong. Show me your way of being right, or show me why I'm wrong, so I can do it better. And that means there's one less thing that I have to do wrong in my life, right? And that's what we tell our students here too. What, you found a problem? Let's go. We can fix it. Like,
right,
like let's go. Like it's awesome. But yeah, I think if you embrace being wrong, if you embrace the process of what you're doing, like, and know that it is a journey, you're not gonna
right.
figure it out right now. Like all of that, man, it makes it a game. I have ADHD, by the way, not
I hear you.
if you can't tell, but it
Most
means my mind's just
entrepreneurs
going,
do.
yeah, right, it's going like everywhere at once.
Right.
But it also means I don't want to be in a bored environment. That's why I created the game system. That's why I even think of my entrepreneur journey as a game. Right, I'm
Right.
leveling up every day. That's the goal.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny because my wife always said, she said, dude, you got ADHD or something. I'm like, no, but it's funny. The more entrepreneurs I talk to, our minds are constantly, constantly working like that. And,
Hmm.
as long as we can focus and harness it in so we can get things accomplished, we're in good shape. Because it
Yeah,
took
that's a
me a while.
superpower.
Yeah, it took me a while to learn how to do it because I'd be researching something, then I come up on something else, and now I'm starting to think about, oh, I can start a business in this, and I'm like, this isn't even what
Like,
I'm
wait a minute.
thinking. I started out with. But so I'm like, all right, dude, slow down, and now I'm able to harness it after all these years,
There
man.
you go.
Um,
I'm
and
working on it.
you'll get it,
Yeah.
you'll get it. Um, is there anything I omitted to ask you that you feel that's important that you need to share with or want to share with the BEB family?
Um, n- Not necessarily. I mean, I know. I think we definitely did our social media. So Instagram, Facebook. That's all at Mission to Math. Um, our website, missiontomath.com. You can check out. You can do a free assessment there. If you do want to get your child signed up, you can click on there for a free assessment. Enter a little bit of information. We can get that going. More than likely, the assessment would be with me, and then you would work with maybe another instructor. Um, um, I love doing what I'm doing, man. Like I don't know.
Cool. So remember, guys, it's mission the number
The
two
number two.
math.com, and that's how you'll find Donald on. You said pretty much all your social media. There you go, and all of that stuff too.
All of our
Okay,
social.
cool. And the last question, bro. If you had the opportunity to have a conversation, one person living or dead, who would it be and why?
I should have known this was coming. Um,
Yeah.
um, wow, Stevie Wonder.
Oh yeah. Why
Stevie
is that?
Wonder. I think all the questions that I want could come that I want answered could come from him, in the sense of, like, how do you see beauty in this world when there's, and I don't mean this obviously with no joke, when there's so
Right.
much darkness, and then you have no choice but to literally, like, embrace a lot of these things that you can't, like, there's a lot there's a
Right.
lot that I would love to ask Stevie, man,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Who's your answer to that?
The one I would say Jesus, right?
Yep,
And a
that
lot of
trumps.
people say that, but if it wasn't Jesus, it would be probably Malcolm X.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And just
that's
and the
phenomenal.
reason being, talking, when somebody is assigned something, right? When you're assigned to do something, you may not necessarily want to do it or be like gung ho to do it, but there's a mission that you have to complete.
Mm,
And just like if you in the Bible, Moses, freeing the people from the Pharaoh. He's
hmm
like, God, me, how am I supposed to do this? But that was his assignment. And I think when with Malcolm, he had a great assignment that he knew that he had to complete, but he also knew the cost of that assignment,
You
and
did.
just the tenacity and the strength and the faith to keep moving, even though he knew what this assignment was basically going to cost him his
Gonna
life.
end.
Yeah, and he was
That's
committed to
lovely.
that. Yeah, for the greater good, not just for me personally, but for the greater good of the community. And so Martin Luther King, same thing.
Hmm.
He knew what he was up against. So just being
And was
able,
able to document that before his passing. How crazy is that? That's yeah.
exactly. And just being able to have that intestinal fortitude. And I know, people say, yeah, he was scared, which is a natural, reaction
Yeah,
or emotion.
yeah. How couldn't you be?
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
kept pressing forward. I was just watching a documentary on Medgar Evers the other night, and his wife Merle was talking about
Hmm.
it, and he knew the end was coming soon, and but they kept pressing forward. So if you have that type of the conversation I want, and I'm not doing anything near that, but that type of how do you mentally prepare to make a seismic shift or try to make a seismic shift with your efforts and your works. And I just think I would love to sit down and have a conversation with Malcolm. And
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
man, it's crazy,
I
bro.
actually, I'm changing my answer to Malcolm X. No,
There you go. But any great person,
right, right.
that has gone through things, and I just look at I didn't get a chance to physically shake his hand, but Ali had walked right by
Mm,
me one time. I was at
wow.
Mike Tyson's last fight in DC against, I forgot who he was, some bum. They ended up Tyson ended up on his back in the 5th round. He basically just gave up. But
Oh man.
he walked right by me, and Layla Ali was the prelim. Now she was the undercard on the undercard. So Ali walked right by me. My cousin, I was like, "Oh man, that's Ali, man," you know. And
Right. Yeah.
just thinking about the experiences that these people have. We all have experiences, but theirs are just in the light. And
Right.
these experiences that people have, and what were you thinking when this happened? How did you
Right.
get through this? And those are the type of questions I would love to be able to sit down and ask, great men and women of, the past and the present, to be quite
If
honest.
I was reading recently about Mansa Musa, and
Mhm.
they were questioning if he. So this would be a question I'd love to ask him. If like he would go around giving all this gold
Gold.
in Egypt, right? And
Yep.
they said that it was either because of two different reasons, right? In Cairo, he was either doing it just as generous, like here you go, just giving this gold out, or he was doing it intentionally to help crumble their gold ecosystem
Yep.
yeah,
Right.
in order
Economy.
to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
economy, thank you,
Yeah.
in order
Mhm.
to make where it rise in both Timbuktu as well as I can't remember his home
Yeah.
country, but yeah, man, it was wild though. So that'd be a
Yeah.
question because that is a very strategic thing to do. Just give away millions of bars of gold just to
Exactly.
crumble an economy. That's wild. So
It's
yeah,
crazy, man. But bruh, I appreciate you, man, taking the time out to share with the BEB family. Once again, man, tell them how they can connect with you and find you on social media.
please on Instagram or Facebook, check us out at Mission the number 2 math. All right. Or if you just want to check out our website as well, mission2math.com. All right. The number
All
two.
right. Appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much, man, for sharing with the BEB family.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was an amazing interview with Mr. Donald Durham, founder of Mission to Math. Make sure you check it out, mission2math.com, using the number 2 on all social media platforms and the website mission2math.com. Before I give you some quick takeaways, guys, let me just share all my social media contact information and resource links. You can go to blackentrepreneurblueprint.com and go and hit the Learn tab, and you will be able to see all of the online courses, trainings, and workshops and be able to get free education and information about leveling up your entrepreneur IQ. So once again, I mentioned at the top of the show, my new book, A New Black Wall Street, Circulating the Black Dollar Worldwide by Building Successful E-Commerce Businesses. You can go to anewblackwallstreet.com, pick yourself up a copy, $14.95, print version, $9.95 digital. Also at the top of the show, I mentioned my 2 platforms I've created to help circulate dollars in the worldwide Black community, and they are both free. The first one is Be Smart Buy Black. Go to the Be Smart Buy Black, upload your product information, and sell your product to Black consumers worldwide. Now, I didn't forget about you freelancers. So if you do anything on Fiverr.com or freelancer.com, go to hireblackfreelancers.com, HIRE, hireblackfreelancers.com and upload your information, and you can connect with black consumers and black business owners that want to hire black freelancers. Also, I mentioned at the top of the show, my new rebranded, rebooted BEBacademy.com. Get 3 days free access to the academy and all of the online resources, courses, masterclasses to help elevate your entrepreneur IQ. You have nothing to lose. 3 days free access. Also, if you're interested in building a successful, sustainable e-commerce business, make sure you go to BBAElite.com. That stands for Brand Builder Academy Elite. Go to BBAElite.com. You can enroll. It is a 15-week implementation program from product ideation all the way to selling on your site and applicable sites. Now, it doesn't matter if you're into digital products brands or physical products brands. This is the platform for you. Pound for pound, the best platform out there to learn how to create a brand, be it a digital products brand or a physical products brand. Once again, guys, everything I'm telling you is on the website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. Just go there, go hit the Learn tab. Everything I just talked about is under there. Now, in terms of connecting with me, anything long, family, hit me on my email, jjones@blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, JAYJONES at blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, Twitter, jjones001, JAYJONES001. Instagram, I got 2 IG accounts, family. The first one is jjones for real, JAYJONES, the number 4, REAL, and the second one is Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Also, YouTube, family, make sure you go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. We have additional content on YouTube that is not on the show. Yes, the show does come out on YouTube every Monday morning, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, along with coming out on all your major podcast platforms. But check out the YouTube channel and subscribe. If you're on LinkedIn, connect with me there, J Jones, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Clubhouse at I am J Jones. That's at I am J Jones. And don't forget my companion podcast that allows you to call in and talk to me live, AskJLive.com. All of the info, guys, is on the website. Go to the website. Use that website as the resource for black entrepreneurs. That's what it was created for. So every type of content you want to learn about, go to the website, hit the learn button, and you can access all of the resources. All right, now, with the takeaways real quick with Donald, there's several things I want to talk about real quick. Number one, what I really liked about Donald and his story is his willingness to take chances. Now, I'm not saying when you start your business, you just up and move to California, but he understood that in order to expand, in order to grow, he's going to have to take chances. Now, Donald is single. He doesn't have any kids, so the only person he had to worry about was himself. And what he did basically was he bet on himself. And I think many times as entrepreneurs, we're scared to do that. We're so used to other people feeding us or paying us. When you go out on your own, you're on a tightrope with no net, but you become accustomed to that. So I really like the tenacity that he showed. And especially, guys, if you're young, single, and don't have a lot of bills or whatever, this is the time to do it. It gets harder as you get older. When you have kids, when you have a home that you're paying for, when you have a spouse or partner, that's even harder. So if you have the inkling, go ahead and do it now if it makes sense, but be strategic about it. Another point that I like what Donald talked about was what he would tell entrepreneurs. He said 3 things. Number 1, keep going, because when you stop is truly the only time that you fail, because learning is a process and you're going to have setbacks along the way. Trust me, been there, done that, almost lost it all twice. So number 1, keep going. Number 2, he said, be willing to unlearn and learn. A lot of times the things we think are right really aren't right. And so have that objectability where you can actually look at things and understand that, you know what? Hey, I might have made a mistake. So the willingness to unlearn and learn. And number 3, he said, admit when you're wrong. And a lot of times as an entrepreneur, when we start a business, that business is like our baby. And when we have to fold that business or pivot or something like that, then we're like, man, it's tough to admit the things that you were doing and what you built just aren't working. But being able to admit that and pivot or just shut it down and reopen something else, That's very important in the success or failure of any business. So those are some great takeaways. Make sure you do what we normally do, guys. Please support Donald and his company, Mission to Math. So if you're in the LA area, you can physically go out there. But even if you're not in the LA area, he has online curriculum that your child can use. And this is a brother out here making a difference in your child's life. So definitely support him. Now, as I say each and every week, guys, we get more and more downloads because of you, the BEB family. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast, the new updated website, and also the BEB ecosystem. This whole thing, this BEB platform is created, guys, to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ, launch, build, and grow your business. We get more and more downloads each and every week, and that's attributed to you guys, the BEB family. I appreciate you so much. Please continue to spread the word. And remember, guys, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about building an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.